What would you do if you had a ton of money and you wanted to build the ultimate vet bike? You'd build something like this. This is Kyle Moose's Yamaha YZ250F with an XPR engine, A-kit suspension. I'm excited to have some fun on it today.
You know, I'm a little butthurt that Josh got to ride it first, but supposedly he's being nice to it, so don't scratch it up too much, Josh. Please don't.
Kyle Moose here. I've known him for a long time, over 10 years of working together in the industry. When he started at ETS, it was more of a niche brand, only with the Factory Rebel KTM team. Now ETS is widely known. People are using it all around, amateurs, pros, and recently the HRC Factory Honda team, they just signed with ETS because of this guy. So he's moving and shaking in the fuel world. When he comes to riding and racing himself, you ride here at Glen Helen all the time with us, but mostly on 2-strokes.
Correct.
So why did you go with a 250F, and what was like the goal for this build?
Yeah, really the goal for this build was to kind of promote our fuels, you know, being that it's a 4-stroke environment that we're basically living in, and me being a 2-stroke guy hanging out the track, but wanted to be more relatable to the everyday Joe that is using our fuel. We decided to go with a 4-stroke power plant. This, in this case, a 250, a little more sizable for us, you know, vet guys, a little bit more power to weight ratio is a little bit better. It was really just to kind of highlight ETS and see what we can do, you know, with this build, see how much horsepower we can build.
Starting with the power plant, the heart of the YZ250F, XPR did the engine here. Give us a rundown on what they did.
Yeah, they did second injector mod, which is with a piston, a rod, and they also did their vortex, and then we ran it and tuned it with MX21.
Yep, so MX21 in there. So the XPR mods with the transmission, with the electronic water pump, all retails at $4,800. Of course, we got ETS MX21 blend fuel inside the tank, and then going on to the rest of the stuff I see on here, you bought 2 different kits from Moto Hose to do white and blue. So you got Moto Hose radiator hoses going to the electronic water pump. You did some exotic coatings on all the Y fittings here. You got Works Chassis Labs. You got Works Connection, cool bling bits, and you got lots of tie bolts down here. Pretty exotic.
Yeah, it is. Not to mention Hinson as well, full, complete, conventional setup with that.
So $1,000 for the Hinson.
Yeah.
$250 for a pail of 6 gallons of ETS, $4,800 for the engine. We're starting to add it up. Next, for the big ticket items, we have suspension up here, but before we get into that, we got the Gen 3 triple clamps from Luxon with their 4-post bar mounts, and we have the ODI CFT handlebars up here, ODI lock-on grips, ARC levers. So stoked on that. But A-kit suspension, and you had Stapes do it, right?
Yeah. Clint Stapes, well known in the industry. I think last year he was doing stuff for Phil Nicoletti, but we went with his A-kit Kashima coat. We went with the black DLC coating, and then we went with the CNC black lower lugs on the forks as well. So with the rear shock, we wanted to do something a little bit different. We did go with the Kashima shock body, but what Clint did is go with a little bit longer shock shaft. I believe it was about 2 mils longer. But really, truthfully, we wanted to do something that was custom built with the springs. So Blake Green at Sypher, he actually came up with a process, and we call it the camo look, and we're quite impressed with it so far.
I also have to point out something I appreciate, making bikes look good. Kyle covered his forks and his triple clamps with a little 3M tape, so you could barely see it from afar away, and I was like, I got up close, I'm like, is that a sticker on there or what? But I appreciate it, keeping this thing look fresh. So up top here, we have the twin air power flow kit, giving you a little more sealing on the air filter. I add this on all of our Yamahas. You did it as well to protect that second injector in there. So you got carbon up here protecting it, making it look even more factory, and steel braided brake lines. Yeah. Lots of cool stuff. And then tell us a little bit about this seat. It's a Moto seat cover and seat foam, but what they do to it?
Yeah, so I actually contacted Travis. They actually just relocated to Lake Havasu, so connected with Travis, and what we really wanted to do is, being that I'm a taller guy, I knew Josh was a taller guy as well, we wanted to come up with a taller foam, but not make it look so obnoxious that it didn't have a factory feel to it. Yamahas in this generation are kind of notorious for having what we call like a peak towards the middle. So what Travis did is he actually widened the top of the seat out. So for us vet guys, we do sit down, makes life a little easier for us and we don't get that monkey butt.
I'm pretty impressed. You can barely tell that the seat is any taller, but I'm excited for a little more comfort there. Also, we got the Works Connection lowered foot peg mounts to bring those pegs down a little bit, titanium foot pegs. But the Sypher Cerakote, Now that's what I'm excited about. Blake Green has been doing Sypher Coatings, and he's doing an amazing job. This thing looks beautiful. Engine cases, even the radiators are black and bronze up here, and the stock brake calipers are also coated as well. So this thing looks exotic and trick. Also the subframe. Black subframe in there too.
Had to go with black.
Also MX Champ wheels on here. This is a pretty affordable part of the build, only 800 bucks for the wheels. You got the MX34 Dunlop on the rear and the MX82 or AT82 on the front, so a little extra comfort there.
A little bit different.
Yeah, and then Magic Graphics made the bike look sweet with the Acerbis plastics. You kind of went with the Club MX look with the white rear end.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the whole goal. Tyler at Magic just always crushes it for us. So appreciate them doing what they did for us on this.
Yep, so Acerbis plastics look good on here. And overall, you said Cole Tompkins put it all together?
Yeah, he did. So Cole Tompkins, which is also, he's well known from the AMA side for being a mechanic for Moto Concepts Racing. He's the one that does the assembly on all my bikes. He does all the race prep. And we knew that Josh, the fast guy, was riding the bike, so we wanted to make sure it wasn't a garage build by us. We wanted to make sure this was a pro prep.
So we rattled off the major things and we added it up. We're thinking about $28,000. And I think that's just being generous too. That's not adding every little nook and cranny that's been touched in this thing. So are you, what do you think about me taking this thing for a spin and before you even ride it?
Yeah, I've never even ridden the bike yet. I literally purchased it and then framed it. It's a little nerve-wracking, but at the same time, no one else I would choose to first ride a bike than this guy. So let's do it.
Let's have some fun. Was it like to ride a $28,000 Steed? I'll tell you guys, it was a lot of fun. I have some experience with a lot of fast 250F engines, so I knew kind of what to expect with this thing. I've ridden a Club MX bike. I rode Phil Nicoletti's YZ250F that he raced Supercross on this year. I rode Garrett Marchbank's Club MX Yamaha a couple years ago, rode Joe Shimoda's factory Pro Circuit Kawasaki. I've ridden some other fast 250Fs, so I knew what to expect. And off the bottom end, very, very impressed. This is built for Kyle, not built for me, but built for Kyle to get bottom end power because he doesn't have a 350, he doesn't have a 450, he's used to two strokes. So he buys this YZ250F, he wants something that's fun and easy to ride, and Chad did that. He made some power that is exciting off the bottom end. For me, pro level rider, I want more top end. He made the bottom end so good that it makes me think that this is like a factory engine, and then it kind of petered off a little bit after that. So not slow, just so good and then good, if that makes sense. So the engine was a lot of fun. I love the bottom end power. You do have to shift it a little bit more than maybe an Austrian bike where you have to rev super high into the RPMs to get the horsepower. I'm also really impressed with the price and also the durability of it. This is a $4,800 package from XPR. You got the Vortex tune, you got the second injector, you got the electric water pump, which is ultra cool. Just came out a couple years ago. Factory team started using it. Now it's trickled into the aftermarket where guys like Twisted Development and XPR are able to sell that to customers. I think that's super cool. Obviously cool down the engine quicker, but it also takes drag off the engine. So you don't have a propeller going inside the engine that takes inertia off of the crank and everything going on inside the engine. So by doing it electronically, less drag on the engine, also slightly less rotating mass inside the engine. So frees it up, makes it even faster. And then of course you got the transmission, you got the rod, you got the piston, but it's a 50-hour maintenance interval for a vet rider like Kyle Moose. So 50 hours, pretty awesome. And I'm pretty impressed with how this engine ran on the track today. Before I get into the suspension, I want to talk a little bit about the look of this machine. Of course, Acerbis plastics, blue to white. My gear matched it today, fly racing gear matched it blue to white. So I think that was pretty cool. And then the cerakotes. This is what I'm really impressed with. If you guys have been around the motorcycle industry for a long time, you know the name Blake Green. Blake was an awesome amateur rider. And one core memory for me was Blake Green hitting the tabletop at Hangtown at the Dodge National, man, probably 2006, 2007, hitting the finish line tabletop and then sending the triple after it with Connor Mitchell. Both of them were sending it on Cobra 50s. And this triple was massive. I was just a young guy, only a couple years older than Blake, and I was on a 65 and an 85, I believe. And I was like sweating this triple, but he was sending it on a Cobra 50. So Blake Green, he did all the coatings. I'm really impressed with all the cerakoting on this thing. And I'm impressed that he only quoted us $1,200 retail. So that's pretty sweet. But getting into the suspension, Clint Stapes, I've heard a lot of good things about him. A-kit suspension. Honestly, the track was pretty blown out today, kind of dry, kind of a hard base. And because of that, I needed a little more comfort out of it. So we did break in the suspension today. The bike is brand spanking new. Clint actually went a little stiffer on the forks to get some more hold up and actually make it feel softer. Then he bled a little bit of nitrogen out of the shock to get a little more supple feel coming out of the harsh chop that we had today. So suspension was pretty sweet. The suspension is set up for me right now, so it's gonna have to get reworked a little bit before Kyle gets on this thing. And yeah, other than that, the thing looks trick. Carbon everywhere, Cerakote everywhere. ODI bars were comfortable. The Luxon triple clamps are something that we trust at MXA. Good times. Thanks for letting me ride your bike. I should also mention the cockpit. I do like the slightly taller seat and the lower foot pegs. It's from Works Connection. But what's really cool is we got the AT82 front tire on here. A little bit taller, a little softer on the front end to give you a little more comfort. That's something that the Lawrence brothers have been running in Supercross, and it's a pretty cool offering. It's an off-road tire, but as you can see, it works good in motocross and Supercross as well. So another side note, Kyle, before you hop on this bike, you might want to invest in some earplugs. Second injector with the cheese grated airbox cover up here is pretty dang loud, but thank you for letting me ride this thing. The ETS fuel, you've done a great job with ETS. And aside from the bike, how excited are you to see Jet Lawrence, Hunter Lawrence, Chance Hymas, Joe Shimoda running ETS fuel this year?
Very excited. It's been a long time coming. We've been working on it pretty hard this last off season, so it is really nice to kind of see your work kind of come together. So I'm really excited.
I'm proud of this guy. So last question, what was it like watching me go wide open first hour, breaking in your new YZ250F?
Tough, very tough, but nonetheless, again, I trust him. I knew a couple times he was coming off the hill as we were kind of tuning the suspension. There was a couple of swaps that got me a little excited, but nonetheless, I do trust Josh, and I got some cleaning up to do for sure. Definitely have some work to do getting back to the shop, but
it wasn't muddy today though.
It was not muddy. It was dry as a bone, and I do feel for you a little bit. It was a little rough today, but all in all, very excited and even more pleased that a pro rider, a pro caliber rider can be excited about this. For us vet guys, that's just what we're looking for.
So stay tuned for a future issue of Motocross Action Magazine. The video is first day, talking about all the cool bits that we can, but the Motocross Action Magazine article that I'll be writing, a little bit easier to explain all the details and get into the nitty gritty of this bike. So thank you guys for watching this video. Subscribe to the magazine, check out ETS Fuel, check out ETS_racing_fuels on Instagram for him.
Correct.
And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video.
Right on, doggy.
Thank you.
Just crushing it always, dude. It's like off the cusp.
No, that's fun, man.
Dude, it was good. I'm stoked. I'm stoked that it was at least a little bit of impressive, because knowing you having that, like, you know, all those other 250 mods that you get to ride other colors.
Yeah.
It was okay. Where does this even hang out?